the bottom.
No intro today, guys.
No intro today. When you said it was ready, I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready." But then you clicked. I was like, "Shit, I'm not even on. I'm on the chat thing."
He's got his lucky hat on today, guys. So you guys know what that means. We're just going to be tailing Max.
Definitely not after today's PO.
And then MIA equals. Oh, it doesn't come across as an emoji in our little thing. It shows up as the description of it. But thank you, D Nice. All right, guys. So let's dive right into the chart because there's really nothing to talk about outside of charts, right? Hopefully you guys all had a good weekend. I did not make that. Max found it or made it, and I stole it from him and told him I would make it a clickbait thumbnail when I got the opportunity. So pay no mind to the clickbait, guys. We're here to trade the charts, obviously, and that is what it is. So straight away, we've got a new level for the week, 23,425, patented caveman level. You guys know that we were on about one specific level on the way down. It was that overall gold pocket and the September high here. Ironically, if you pulled your caveman from the last 2-week period before this, it was actually 22,704, which is pretty much the low. So it's basically we're just playing the pivot game. So pretty easy price action as of thus far. You have come up, you've smack dabbed into your local gold pocket and your weekly pivots. So those are hit for the week. And you've got the NPOC from last week up here as well. I think EXO shows it at 24,000. I've got it at 23,969 on mine because we always front run our target. Also, the 40 tick on TradingView is giving us just a slightly different level, but it's so slight that it doesn't matter. So 23,969, 24K, interchangeable. It's primarily just a zone. It's also your previous day high here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the gold pocket. It's just not necessary. And we're going to get rid of these pivots as they're no longer necessary either. And what we're doing is setting up for a pretty basic day. And so you can see that I've got a few boxes on here. You guys know how I like my boxes here. And main reason being that we're going to be looking at this is we're coming into the end of the month. So we have some targets and things to talk about. Now you can see right here that I've got this mapped off right here, these local lows and closures in this swing fail low right here from Sunday. So this box is fairly important support, meaning that if we lose it, I would expect to probably see a new low. And we all know if we break 22.8, that was the kind of the level given, and we'll talk about why it was so important in a second. I would expect to probably come all the way down into this region. We'll talk about that. DXY has hit resistance. This is your developing regression for the year. We talked about this, how it could continue up. So it has come up above this key level and then come back below it. So really kind of range bound still on the DXY. As you can see, this could be all viewed as one giant like structure here now, up here, and maybe this ends up forming that inverse head and shoulders. It comes back into this blue support that we've talked about on the high time frame between 103.95 and 103.65. That is comprised of the 2017 and 2016 highs. So if that is the case, or if it finds support even before then, I am still looking up to like take this local high right here into the 6M SFP right on the Dixie. So we'll talk about a little more Bitcoin here in just a second. But you can see that's our target zone. And the reason it is the target is because, let's get rid of that box. This is the local area that we have swung fail on a high time frame. And then we have our current 2023 high right here. So if price can get back above this box and go for a new high, I would expect to see a new high potentially made. And this box starts right here between 105.63.1 and 105.788. That's where I'd put my alerts for upside, and for downside on this one, I'd put my alerts in this area here. Probably some kind of a local gold pocket in this region if we pulled it. Let's do it real quick before we move on. There we go. Maybe I'm too zoomed in for what we're doing here. Hang on. There we go. And look at that. There's your gold pocket and the support. So it would be taking these lows right here boom, and up. So that would be the play. I would be concerned beneath 103.65 if you're bullish on the dollar, mainly because it would look like it wants to come back to these lows and probably take them into like the 102 to 102.09 area at that time and fill in this inefficiency. So that's how I'd be trading the dollar. That would bode well for Bitcoin and risk on assets, obviously. So back to Bitcoin, you know, we're above all the areas we need to be above. Okay. So you had one trade this morning. I was talking to Max about it straight away, right? And let's get rid of this caveman level. This could have very easily been a trade for you, right? And I've got a lot of these guys up. Okay, so you came down into this gold pocket locally, right? You can see that right here. And then what would have been the confidence of this is that your daily initial balance is set in right here. So as soon as you found re-entry into this, I would actually be looking at this as a range rotation, potentially in your new developing week range, right? So essentially you've come below the point of control, reclaimed the initial balance. Now you're targeting the initial balance high, which comes in at your volume value area high for the developing session. So it would have very easily been the way to go. And what have you done? You've come back down to the initial balance low and found support. So as long as it's holding above this level, and the caveman level probably gets it pretty well, you know, if we just wanted to leave one line on there and get rid of some of this stuff. So as long as we're living above 23,425 locally on the intraday, things are okay. You start breaking down below this, so I'd expect to see the value area low of the range and potentially even come back to this box we just outlined on the daily, right? So that is the local really crackhead time frame plays if you want to live on the 1 to 5 minute chart with me for the day. Otherwise, I think it's in our best interest to mark our previous day high and low, set alerts down in these regions if you're looking for more of a high time frame area to trade off of. And I bring this up because we have our local resistance we've just identified in our previous day high. So it gives you some options, right? We come up to the previous day high. What happens if we swing fill it? Well, we're looking to bring it back down and take it back down to the nearest support. You guys know we're going to look for local VWAPs, points of control, things like that. However, if you break out of this area, I really think it is in your best interest to start targeting the upside of this to like 24.7 and 24.8. And that has been a pretty key area for us. If you recall, 24.7 is that weekly time frame. Actually, I've got it up here, right here, that we have not closed a weekly candle above this since we've broken down into this range, so to speak. So this is the most important time to be looking for things in terms of that type of an action. So we need to see 24/7 reclaimed. It does line up nicely with some volume analysis as well. And it lines up really nicely where we said, if we're going to see a new high made, we expect it to be either 1 week before the 1-to-1 in price here or 1 week after. And you can see yesterday with all that volatility on this one here, that's kind of a big candle where it took the highs and almost the lows, left the lows though. It is your 1-to-1 fib time for this move. So you have 2 fib times to work off of. I brought this up with Bill Noble, and I do want to cover it here now that it's more relevant. He was saying that he thinks we could get a larger rally. And if we see a larger rally, guys, it's going to look like this. All right. You're going to be targeting out into this region potentially. And that's going to be out here. Did I do that correctly? Or is this? Yeah, there we go. Right here. And I would mark the 0.5 as well on this one right here. Okay. And that's going to put us into the 3rd week of March potentially for our next pivot. But what you'll notice is that we're projecting for time here and treating things as though it's a larger range. And if we treat this as an even larger range, like up to like 48K, which seems to be the popular opinion of bulls, the mega bullish, we're going back to 48K gold pocket retrace. What you'll notice is that you have overlapping timelines, and that actually was our rejection point. So I do find these tools very interesting. I think they're slept on, but I also think they're probably just not talked about much because there's a lot of different ways to trade this market. You're not going to solely trade off of these lines that I've put on my chart, even though had you done so, you would be doing better than most of the people in the space probably. And that's just that, you know, so still looking at this window is pretty important, this week being the next week that we're looking for. So this box right here is just more for time. We have come up to a pretty major high and we've failed to have a change of behavior above 24/7, right? And again, back to that 24/7 level, why it's so important. you can see two things here. It's kind of a messy chart, and I do apologize. Let's get rid of this guy real quick. And yeah, we'll stay on the 1 hour. 1 hour is just fine, guys. January, February. We're closing February today. Where is our February POC? We've come to the low of the February range, value area low, and the prior session point of control. So this was the biggest support to hold this 22.8 region. We've talked about that. You hang on to 22.8. Where's our next high volume node and level? It's down here at like 21.8. However, I'm going to be targeting this untapped monthly pivot beneath it, which is going to expire today. And we'll have a fresh one. Our fresh one lines up really, really nicely with our caveman level. So this 23.4 level is going to be fairly important, at least probably in the coming like day or so. We'll see this interacted with, I would imagine. But if we're living above this and we do finally break back above this old previous week right here, this little area at 23.894 to 23.969, we just call it the previous day high in this case, 23.894, I think gets it plenty fine. I think you have to be looking to take this up and take it up to the monthly point of control and get that backfill for February, which would put us at 24.7, at which point I do lean towards this being probably going to try to make a new high. It's going to attempt to, let's put it that way. I would lean that direction. That does not mean we won't be looking at this as resistance, as it has been resistance between 24.7 and like 25.2. I believe 25.120 is the exact level that I have on my chart for the low time frame. Yeah, and what do we say about 24.7? If you get above 24.7, where do we go? 25.120, 24.7, 25.120, right? So 25.120 to 24.7 is kind of that supply zone, if you will, where sellers were coming in. However, this would look like an uptrend. And I think that if we reach that to retest it, I'm not going to not short it if there's a setup given, because I think that, you know, the invalidation is obviously close. However, I would just be cautious because it's not a guaranteed short at that time. And this could just be continuation of the trend into these larger targets, where these are statistical targets, if you recall, especially the one up here at 26.724 being that yearly pivot. So that is the bullish case scenario. Otherwise, this is primarily just range bound. You could draw this up many different ways. You could look at it as the breakout from here if you wanted to, and I'll get rid of these other ranges before I do that. But hopefully this is a nice, easy slowdown in terms of analysis so that you guys can kind of keep your heads on straight. You know, yeah, look at that. What would happen if we were living above 24.7? You'd also be living above the value area high of this range, and we'd be looking to trade this up, right? We'd be looking for expansion. So it all makes sense from a market structure standpoint, and it all makes sense from a basically a session standpoint, you know, if we're pulling ranges in that regard. So to me, I'd be looking up to that 26.724 level potentially if we break above 24.7, and that's right in line with the high time frame, you know, and it's in line with our timing, which would say that we're really looking for this move to take course this week. And then we need to evaluate and see if we get something like this, which you could then move the line a little bit. You know, we don't want to move them too much, but you could move it over to like something like so, and you could just box this off. I know we try not to muddy the chart too much. If we get that bullish move, because we have to be prepared for everything, right? It does break back above. We get that move. Then we're looking to do this, right? Either trade off of that or trade the back test and reacceptance to the range. And at that point, I'm targeting this low. Okay, that's the low I'm after. Or you could target this local one right here. Those are how I would do it. Low 1, 2, and then I would be down here at 3 for the gap fill, right? To the flip side of this, guys, if we lose 22.810, we can't make this push. Maybe we can come up there and just fill in that February POC. I'm more interested at that time in, you know, taking this down below 22.4 potentially. We'd need to see closures below 22.8, of course. It could come down and swing fail the level again, right? But I'd be looking more in line towards this area of the chart. And our gap fill is all the way down here. If you guys recall, this is your gap. It closes at 19.995. And there is an untapped pivot here that I don't have listed at 632.50. So that's how I would be trading the chart, both low and high time frame. And you guys, we went over the low time frames first thing. So that's how I'm treating it. Support is support. You got some nice areas to work off of. Again, those local daily area that we covered right at the beginning of the video, that is going to be the inflection point for this local range, if you wanted to call it that, from 22.810 up to $23,894. If you start basically losing, we'll call it $23,000, then I would expect to challenge this low, maybe make a new one. I know it's only a $200 window, but that volatility was a scam wick. It's a scam wick. That is a terrible response. I don't count those as scam wicks. Yeah, Bybit USD. I love it. That's the one I trade, and it came back down and did what? September high into the previous week low support. To me, it's support is support. You trade it as such, right? So you can call it a scam wick, but it doesn't really matter how you want to classify it. It is exactly what it was supposed to be, and it respected the TA the whole way. So I don't really like making excuses for price action and getting into that, and I don't preclude any price action and disclude it unless it's like a scam wick to zero. But that's also why I don't trade on exchanges like Kraken or Bybit or Binance, excuse me, because those are much more prevalent in those regions of the trading space. So I don't have much else to talk about. We've covered the DXY. We know what we're looking for. I guess we'll look at the SPX real quick. SPX coming into some support here, right? So we're going to keep this as basic as possible. We were talking about the monthly pivot. Right? 39.88 with a backup level at 39.78. You can see we're trying to hang on to this region, but you are finding a little bit of resistance here locally on like the low crackhead time frame. You dive in, you're rejecting off of your monthly pivot, right? So you want to see this level holding as support. If you don't, that's okay. You've got the gold pocket just beneath you. And for all the trend line boys and girls, which I do count the old stock dogs, we're going to trade stuff like this. There is your massive trend line coming back from January 4th of 2022 at the high, all the way down. It would be a retest, right? So that's how you'd be looking at that. And I would expect to find support there, to be upfront with you guys. I think that it would be right in line with potentially what we would be looking for. And I have not looked at the, yeah, look at that. There's your value area low. So it would look like a deviation. You'd be playing the swing fail of last week's prior week low on Friday. So if you swing fill that low, you're looking to take it back up and then trade it into the range, right? So otherwise, this is support. Bitcoin's at key support as well. The 22,810 level will count that. And the DXY came into resistance. So you guys can all kind of do the math on the correlation there and what you want to do. And you guys can make the best decision. But I can tell you that if you were shorting at the low here or shorting into support, things just did not pan out very well for you. I've got nothing else to add. I'm going to turn it over to Max. We got 30 of you guys in here. Thank you guys so much for being here on this Tuesday. If you guys are having tacos today, put it in the chat. Let me know what kind you're going to have. Soft shell, hard shell, what kind of meat, unless it's vegan taco, that doesn't count. We don't do any of that tofu or stuff around here.
So I have taken the range which Magic was pulling on TradingView and gone over to the TPO chart and also merged it. Now the week low, pretty much the previous day low at this point. The one thing that I want to mention about this low, we can look for a swing failure pattern there, great, but we have to remember there is a single print down there. I'm going to unmerge these in a minute, but I just want to go over, the fact that the next bit of volume comes quite a bit further down than where the week low is. It puts you right down into this bit where we all thought we were breaking down back down to 20k again. So it really is an important level to be swung fail if we are to come down there. If I unmerge this, reset. Okay, so you can kind of see it a little bit clearer now. But yeah, this is the single print. Now I would certainly extend it into a whole one. You can see that this volume area that we had here, this volume block, I guess, is where it's our current support. We've yet to really lose it. If we do lose it, all of these lows come a market structure resistance for us. You've got this volume block which is clearly held us, and all those highs, which I think it was a September high or what have you, they all become resistance, and it's clearly been very strong support. So you really don't want to lose that region on the chart, because then you'll be back in the single prints and coming back down into this area down here. So it wouldn't be good for price action if you wanted it to go up, of course. Now, the only trade that's been really of any significance this week has been this one. That's been the only good, really good trade this week. It's just been, today's been absolutely dead. I've been pulling my hair out watching the price action today. I was like, right, I'm going to do nothing today. You can sit at the screen and trade. And I'll call as occurred. So, looking at what we've currently got, all the price actions come after 6:30 my time. So it's been a long day. But yeah, right now you've got that gold pocket where Magic mentioned. Obviously, had position changing hands there. A nice buyback, great. It's what you want to see. Coming from a level with the gold pocket, this was a swing failure pattern from an old region and rejection from the weekly open. But it wasn't, the total swing failure pattern. If you're looking at these highs, which I did have an alert set, but it did trigger it. If you're marking these highs here, do this thing. This would be that level that I would prefer to be swing fail, and then you can use the weekly open as your confirmation if you're a bit late to the party, because looking at what we've got right now, you've got a ton of positions on both sides. You've got buyers in this candle here, buyers in this candle at the top here, which are currently trapped. But then again, you've got shorts here that are trapped, shorts here that are trapped. Really could go both ways. So I would like the wick up to the upside, take out those shorts that we've currently got trapped down here, and then come back down and take out all of the the longs that have built up in this section. But yeah, pretty much use this price action for today. The volume has really been abysmal. The point of controls up here where we are, the value area is so close. It is all changed in this little bit of price action we've had. So yeah, this is the only real bit of price action that I'm looking at. It's been a rather slow day. I've not really got too much else to mention, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting looking at here. Take the high, and then maybe get a swing failure pattern down here. And I'm not even talking about the previous day high. That's a way away. If we get there, great. But I don't think that we'd get a swing failure pattern at that high really. I think the majority of the liquidity is going to be, in this region of the charts. I don't think any of the shorts that are entering here are going to have their stop losses here. And if we go back and look at that high, turn off the mark because it's always messy. There's not a ton of shorts that entered in this region of the chart that one would think have put their stop loss above it. It was mainly longs that entered in this region. And again, it's dumb money that entered up here, all trying to trade the breakout, and all got punished. There was not a single position here that you could say entered and got a great short. There's not a single position here that entered and you would say got a great short. It was all kind of longs entering, trying to catch the last bit of the move, and they got absolutely punished on that move down. It was wrecking all the people that had bought at the highs. So I don't believe we're going to get a swing failure pattern if we were to get up there. But yeah, anyway, that's just my thoughts on what we've currently got. I've not really got too much else to say, Magic. It's been, yeah, that's it.
What the heck, man?
I know.
That's all right.
I was like, yeah, Magic can keep talking. It's just killing the time. It's great.
All the time. We've gone over quite a bit. I'll cover like Matic and a few things real quick here, and we'll rock and roll.
And we'll see if we get this swing failure pattern on stream. That'd be great.
All right, yeah, set your alert. Just interrupt me if we do.
Sure.
All right, guys. So we were talking about Matic. I've pulled up some Matic price action. I actually like this low quite a bit. Looking at Matic, you've come back into the yearly pivot. You're trying to hold this on like a daily closing basis. See that there? So you're just settling up. So 122.6 still the key level. That was actually the take profit for me here the other day. So that is 2 take profits on the trade. I took one at 133, 122 is now how I like my numbers. Still looking to see if we get this target here right around 105.45. The old fun folder for those that might not be new. That's your B leg of this setup. Right. However, we have to account for us to not always get what we want. And in this case, that's why we take profits. Right. So this trade will, no matter what, be a winner. I was lucky enough to get an entry up here in like the 152 plus range. So Once I saw this SFP on the daily into that key zone that we were looking for, right here, I knew that I was going to have probably a decent trade, at least with a decent stop loss locally, or if you were less secure on that, you could have put it above X, which is your invalidation, right? So once we got the rejection in the local setup, stop loss is here. Now it's at entry. And if I get stopped out of that position, at the end of the day, I just have more Matic. So I'm pretty happy with that. And it goes to higher prices. But still looking for these lows down here. It will be closing out some important areas as well this week. You can see we are right at the point of control for the month, so we don't have a setup like we do on Bitcoin. We have not fully rotated this range either, and all we have done is come down into the regression low. So for me, if you get above 129 here, you can see the inflection point of this. I would start targeting the value area high at 136, maybe as high as 142, but that would really require some moves out of Bitcoin and SPX as well, probably. And we'll see that happening. And it could end up just being a lower high at that time before coming down, because nothing goes down in a straight line, right? And we talked about this on in this box here. Okay. Nothing goes down in a straight line. You can see big drawdown, massive move back up to the highs before making the biggest move down that it made into this area of support, right? So things don't always go cleanly into the night, right? So if it just fell through here all the way down, it would be a little surprising. However, this remains the area of most interest to me. And yeah. I keep trade money on Bybit, but I do have a hardware wallet. I don't keep, again, leverage isn't to keep all your money on exchange. I do trust Bybit. They do have, I have 6 accounts. They do have withdrawal limits, 20K daily or 100K for the month. So keep that in mind. It does make it somewhat difficult for me to get all of my money off there at once, but you know, it's a good problem to have, I suppose. But yeah, I trust Bybit. I've never had an issue. I had a friend that was kicked off the platform. They locked his account. He literally got logged out when they locked it and couldn't get back in because he couldn't remember his password. It took him 3 days to work with support, and they let him pull all of his money off at once with no KYC, which was pretty cool. So he pulled it all off at once, and I'm pretty sure he just opened a new account and went right back to trading, which I thought was hilarious. So I like Bybit, but you know, do your own research. Obviously, I know that's a really overused term in our space. But when it comes to exchanges, you can actually, you know, Google's your best friend. Go on there, read reviews, read about the exchanges, read their policies. There's plenty of information out there for you to find. You know, don't rely on somebody like me just to do what I do, right? So another thing about Matic, why I like this area is, well, we've got an MPOC down here that we're looking for, right? And let's go to the monthlies. And your monthly pivots down here. So this 101 area is just beneath that 105 target. It's big, kind of a little zone here, a little 3-4% box, you know, and I don't like doing that, but this is the area of interest to me still. I think that we get that mean reversion. The question is it bounce first or do we come down first, right? So, you know, if it bounces, then you're really looking for something like you know, it's not going to play out exactly like this most likely, but you're looking for something like this essentially, right? That's what we're looking for. You see that and see how that's a nice long. You could write this up as a channel, however you wanted to do it. I didn't measure this out, so don't shoot me, right? You'd be looking at it like this, and so this would be the way to do it, probably something like this. What is that? Yeah, that'd be the play. So nothing goes down in a straight line, but sometimes it does nice things like this. I'm not expecting that. It's just an idea to kind of illustrate how price can bounce around without just making lows after lows after lows. But, you know, I'm not necessarily looking at this as a long opportunity. However, if we break above this level and hold it, one could think to scalp maybe long up a little bit. But again, that's an intraday trade. And it's not something I'm going to be holding. Looking at this, you can see we've come back into the regression from our little fun folder here. So I put a regression on this right here. You can see this is the EQ of it. And you'd be looking at that down into this 101 zone, a little under it actually. So bear that in mind. But for me, just holding that short on Matic, taking profits along the way, nothing has changed. Let's look at some other ones. Another one we were looking at publicly was LRC. We've covered this in the group. Boop, boop. And just waiting on LRC. It's come into support here. I'm not really sure where it's finding support, to be quite upfront with you, at the monthly value area low. So it makes sense. I don't day trade this one. I'm only interested in picking up positions from where I want to pick them up, and that's right here. So if I don't get to pick up LRC in this region, so be it, right? So be it. But you have given up the major area, which was going to be 39.77 cents here at the global point of control for the entire range. And you've now rotated to your local value area low of your monthly setup. So that's why it's important to track things, guys. We track things based on sessions. But if we zoom out a little bit more and include even more data, which we can always do, there's always more data, guys, always more data. At least most of the time, there's always more data. And the value area low of our developing quarterly and yearly and 6 month, because they're all the same right now, does come in right here. And so I'm still looking for this zone of support. Got some intermediate alerts set up right here. You can see I have an alert to let me know we're getting close. And I don't preset for anything, so I will watch the reaction of this one and go back in and look for entry and invalidation. And I'll be buying spot if given. If the trade setup is there. If it just nukes through this area or it doesn't give a good reaction, it doesn't give me a trade setup, I'm just going to have to miss out, guys. I'm okay with that. You know, that's part of trading. And I would recommend a lot of people they'd probably have a lot more money if they took that approach. So looking at this one, let's see where the future pivot is on this one. Look at that. Look at that. Where's our key area at 39.77? Look where the new monthly pivot's going to be coming in at as of tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. Right there. That's the inflection point. Hats off to TA. We love it. Let's look at Maddox. Look at that. Where is Maddox monthly pivot? What did we just say? We want to get above 129. There's our new monthly pivot. Beauty. So again, inflection point, TA doing its job. Get above this. We start targeting local highs or, you know, local gold pockets, which I'd actually be curious where this local gold pocket is so that we don't get bamboozled by price action. Never fun to get bamboozled. Yeah, if you get above that, you do have to worry about the SFP scenario where you come up above the level, take like this local high, then come back below it. But yeah, that 133 zone that I targeted earlier, or just right here, this local low is going to be something to keep an eye on, right in this region. So, so if you're into Matic, you've got a low here. You could take the long, put your stop loss below the low. You got to work out your risk percentage, and you're targeting 129, looking to get that monthly back test, and looking to trade February up. However, in my opinion, oftentimes don't like trading the middle of the range. So to me, I won't be partaking in that setup, especially since it did not come down to the value area low of its range. So that's a pretty risky one on this asset. I would be very cautious if you consider that. And that would have to be a day trade. You could not be holding that drawdown because it could draw down to $1, which is, 23%, 22%. It could even go down lower than that, guys. Believe it or not, things can always go lower, just like they can always go higher. So you have to do your best to protect yourself in those situations and not put your capital at risk. Hard shell tacos, multiple protein tacos. I love it. All right, guys. I don't know that I've got too much else. I'm going to cut it short here in just a second. I guess I shouldn't say short. It's been 33 minutes. There are 39 of you in here, though, so I do appreciate that. So somebody requested Crow not that long ago, and I traded this one so well. I was so happy with myself on this one. When we were at the highs, up here, we had some really good setups. This was like the perfect setup harmonic-wise. Caught the exact lows into this bi-weekly and B-leg pivot of this potential shark, which played out beautifully, and then got the 5-0, so to speak. This is the 5-0, basically. I think it went a little too far for the 5-0, but then it just descending triangled its way all the way down to hell. Our target initially was 18 cents, and as we were getting down to here, I was just like, actually, I'm not even interested at 18 cents. I think this thing's going to go much lower. Be looking for 8 cents or below, and you've come back down into the yearly all the way at 5.2 cents. And something I put on my Twitter, because as it was dumping, it was kind of the talk of the town. So wanted to you know, put out a level, and this was the level I gave was 5.2 cents or 5.81 cents, I believe. Yeah, 5.81. There we go. So that worked out pretty well for anyone that took it. I think OC in the chat did. And so this might be the next one I do like a fresh chart build on, because I know a lot of people use the exchange and like the, you know, probably have a fuckload of Crow tokens, excuse my language, which is unfortunate, but I got their debit on $400 level. By the time I could unlock it, it was 1,700. Yeah, if you got into Crow at the right times, this thing has ran really, really hard. We not only basically nailed the high of this, like the high was all Fibonacci work up here at like 90 cents to $1. And then you were looking to bring this down. And I've been on record as stating this was good accumulation when it was happening. I believe there's a video still on my YouTube. It's like one of the first ones that I put back on there. And it was a great video. And then the only thing is everybody's looking for a new high. And I mean, like, look at this candle, guys. Like, we talk about scam wicks. And I use this scam wick, we'll call it that, because it was we labeled scam wicks earlier. I use this as part of my analysis to find my levels to catch these highs. So I definitely do use them. But yeah, that was wild to see. My brother's big on Crow. That's why I remember getting into it. Is he had me do it. I don't use the exchange or own any Crow, just so you guys know. I've never held it. But yeah, this one could probably use an update. However, you've got your local range right here. Very, very simple. You're at the value area high. Point of control is rotated to the top. So we want to be hanging on to this potential SFP level, which I had marked out right here, this local low. Let's get rid of this fixed range. You can see that on our way down to Pound Town here, it was a great support and resistance. Boom, right back to resistance for giving it up, holding it as support and resistance intermittently. We'll probably get rid of the level here locally in the short term. But if you're living above this, go to the biweekly, right? So if you give this level up, though, you don't really have much beneath these lows here at 7 cents, do you? I would expect a full retrace to the bottom of the range. I'd be looking down here if I was interested in this token again, just short term, just looking at the chart, not interested in looking at any bounces on this one until here. If you're already in from down here, great place to lock in profits. You're up substantially because this thing is an absolute dumpster fire and doesn't take much to go higher. You know, you're up 37%, 38%. If you held it all the way up here to the highs, it's 61%. So if you can't take at least some profits to make sure that you're not going to get absolutely, you know, taken for a ride in this market after a 60% move, you know, that's on you. You're going to diamond hand this thing no matter what. And it's either going to really pay off for you because you're going to hold it to the next bull run and it goes well, or it's going to go terrible. Do I long-term invest in any of these? I'll answer this before we end the stream. This is going to offend a lot of people, but I actually don't. I actually think that we are pretty early to the space. I think that there's a lot of trash in the space still. I hold, and this is probably because I'm from like the 2017 era when Bitcoin was pretty much the only thing, and then altcoins, the ICOs started happening, and you've seen things like Bitcoin Cash and, you know, Litecoin, which actually I think people are going to sleep on Litecoin this next time around, but only because the chart is easy to chart. Also, they've done a few things that make it fundamentally more attractive, closer to like a Bitcoin type thing. But a lot of coins that never went back to all-time highs. So I was one of those people that in 2018, I held a lot of those coins. You know, obviously the famous story is the XRP story. Still made a 40X on it because I got in early enough. But for those that didn't get in early enough, they lost a lot of money and they'll probably never see that money again. So do I own and invest in them? I used to. I do think 99% of the projects will probably die eventually. I just think that washout is coming. There's too many scams and too many things that they're just money grabs. You got to understand that when you start seeing thousands of cryptos pop up like that, it's because you've reached the peak, not euphoria, but like dumb money is here, right? Everyone's trying to get money. Everybody's trying to make something in terms of cash. And so a lot of these things will end up being like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? they'll end up being just that. They'll never actually follow through on their roadmap. These are startups, guys, and except there is a lot less regulation, it feels like, in the space. It's not the wild, wild west anymore, but it's still out there where you see things pop up and you're like, that thing is, what in the hell is that? You know, like that is clearly just getting people to gamble on it, and people do it. People are doing it. So I think a lot of these projects will go to zero. I think that money will eventually flow into the more valid ones. You know, I obviously like Ethereum. That was my second largest holding in the last market run. Chainlink, Polkadot, had Matic. Trying to think what else I was holding at the time. I say holding because I sold my altcoins. I sell my altcoins. I did buy back into Link, and it got burned a little on Link. That is one that I've been averaging in. So my average on Link in the last bull market was under $1. So, you know, it was like, how could you go wrong with Link, you know? And this one, I was really looking for about $9.30 as the area that I was most interested in. I'll put that on the chart for you guys. We'll put 930. And I still think that's a key level. See, this was the area that I was most interested in. And this is why we don't preset. So I was interested in 930. I believe there was a level at $11 as well, like right up here. Yeah. And so this is why you don't preset. So I've been buying in this region knowing that, and I did say this, and this is, again, this is not following my own advice, right? I was saying that, man, I kept trading. The more I've listened to you, Crypto and Garrett, buy low, sell high. Yeah, exactly. Right here is where I was presetting, which you can see what presetting gets you guys. Gets you a trip down to $5, which I said could happen. I was openly saying like this could go as low as $5, and we even have targets at 382 and $1 like 82 or something like that. So it can always go lower, and you have to be prepared for that. So do I hold any altcoins for the long term? Yeah, I'm invested into this one. This is a bag that I feel the mean reversion at a minimum, even if it never goes back to all-time highs, is going to be pretty fucking epic. So for me, I am accumulating Link under 930. And you got to be prepared that it can go as low as, I believe it's, what did I say? Like $3. And this is the wrong chart. I don't know what I did on this chart. This chart is not what I'm supposed to be looking at, but 930. Yeah. So I did buy Link. It did burn myself a little bit there. So I do hold Link. I do have Polkadot. I nailed the Polkadot to the penny almost at the lows. Absolutely crushed that one. I trade QNT. I will swing trade and hold that one for periods of time. I was interested in getting ADA. It did not reach my target, so I did not buy. I did buy Algorand. It reached my box. For those that were wondering, this was my box. It almost filled it out completely. But yeah, I did buy Algorand in this region, and I am still looking at Algorand as I'm only interested back at the 12M at 21.6, down into this low right here at 20.86. So this little window right here at the top of this support would be of interest to me for a position if the reaction is good. If not, I expect to see the lows, right? Because that's what happens if you get below this area, you fill that in. Polkadot, and then we'll hop out of here. Polkadot was, again, another good one right here. Had this box from 438 to 419. Obviously didn't hit 419, but I was able to get in an average here just under 430. And I have since locked in profits. Where did I lock in profits at? Well, my first take profit, believe it or not, was right here. Another take profit here at the yearly pivot, quarter too high. And I will continue to run this one, hopefully up to $9.99 and $13 over time, maybe even as high as 14, etc. So, you know, this was another one that was a big, big winner for me in the last cycle. I'm very familiar with the chart. That's another reason why I like trading them. Will I be long-term investor in it? Maybe, you know, but again, I think the time to hold altcoins is when Bitcoin's in a very clear and visible bull market. Yeah, you can do that. If you're not readily available, you got to understand, I have the luxury of being at home and at my computer like all the time. It's, you know, I do get busy during the day and I make a point not to sit here in front of the computer, but doing this for a long time, like since this is my only job, it's like, This is what I do. I sit at my computer, and when my alert goes off, I just go to TradingView and I look, and I go to Bybit and I look and I go, oh shit, I'd like to buy that. That was a good reaction. I'm in. And I go from there, right? So yeah, we can do a video on that. You know, with something like this, let's say that this gave you several days to get in down here. So when you came down to this region, like we'll just cover this right now since we're here and we're on the coin. And let's actually do away with this box. So we've hit our target, which was 438, right? Boom, right? There's our target. Nailed it down below into the box. What are we looking to do here? Well, you've got a very obvious daily low that's been taken on multiple occasions here, right? You can see that we've swung fail our low. So what does this do for me in terms of a stop loss? If I'm happy with this, and at the same time, you can see this is December 28th. What was Bitcoin doing on December 28th? What was Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin was also coming into support. 16,611, if I recall, was that weekly support we were looking for. Right here. And on the 1 hour, you were getting this. I was getting long on Bitcoin in this region, right? You can see that we have an inverse head and shoulders below our trigger level. Okay, so you back at support. I'm looking to long Bitcoin. I even announced my long as soon as we do this right here on the 1st. So January 1st is when I took that long. I re-announced right here that I've compounded on the swing failure because the entries were so similar that I didn't feel like having to take out a whole new trade. You go over to DOT. What's going on January 1st? You're getting that push up, right? So my stop loss is below this low or below 419 in this case, right? So you're looking at it like so. If you're looking for a really low time frame stop loss, you're looking at something like this, and your very first target's up here, right? And this is after, and this is implying you're taking an entry right here. Okay, so you get your entry here about $4.30, and you're taking this all the way up for at least a 5-to-1 to just your first target, right? And that doesn't even have to be a big position to take. It's such a good risk to reward that even your first take profit can be like 10-15% of your position, just to make sure that you're getting paid, and you go from there. So you had 4 days to get into this one. This wasn't like it came down here and just boom, it's gone. Okay, so you had 4 days here at the low in this case. So your alert goes off, you're not home. Don't panic. There's always a setup, right? Just like if you took this trade right here, because you're like, well, we have the same setup. We came down. We've swung fail the low. Let's move this guy. I'm going to trade this up. However, what do we know? Well, we know that we have a level down here that we're still eyeballing. So you're looking at this like this. Oh, shit. Right? So you've got to be able to work this out and just slow down as I mess this chart up. And you'd have to say, well, I want to be above this level. Or if you're taking this as a broader target trade, which you could have back to the yearly pivot, right? That's where we're looking to go. We're looking to go to the old yearly pivot here. Take this for a 9-to-1. You could justify saying, I'm going to put my stop loss down here below this level of support because I don't think we're going to get through it, but I'm not as confident. So I'm going to take a wider stop for right now, and off it goes. And that's a 15% stop loss. That's really big. So to me, this is much more attractive, and you're going to get stopped out of this position if you put it just beneath this low, right? So you're coming down below your support. You're planning accordingly. If it nukes through this level, you've got the chance of coming down to 376. So either you've already accounted for that in your stop loss and your risk management, or you're letting yourself get stopped out knowing that you can always take another entry later. Like let's say it comes down, it takes your stop, and that sucks. It happens. It comes down, boom, fuck you. And then does this, great, re-entry right here. And now I'm below the low, and I'm still same trade idea, same great risk reward. You miss nothing. And it took weeks for this to play out. So you had time. Rarely does it just come down here. Like, you know, the type of I miss the move situations that you're looking for or talking about are things like this. Either they're intraday because that's when it makes it harder because your risk reward is just different on an intraday, or it was this. You know, a lot of people didn't want to buy here because one, the fear and the gap below us, but two, because it happened so quickly and you got this V-shaped recovery, right? This did happen very quickly. But rarely did you miss out. You know, even in hindsight, looking at this, the Corona dump, when you're looking at this, what did you do? Where's my SFP? So where's my stop loss going? Shit, this is going to go up. Certainly is. You can either work it out like so, below the SFP low or this local low right here, or you can work it out to here, and you're looking just to take this all the way back up to what? Like, let's just say you're targeting the gold pocket, which I believe was in this region vicinity right here. We'll just call it right here. There you go. So right now, when you look at it, it's just a 1-to-1. However, if you take the more aggressive approach, you've missed out. It's just below the low. Now look, you've got a 2-to-1, and you can leave this to run, right? So that's how I would have done that one. Or you can dive into the low time frames, which is always my recommended idea to find the entry, which would have been right here. Okay. And this one was a really good setup. So you missed it, came back to support, came back to your gold pocket. Boom, gold pocket. There is your technical support where it had settled up. This is my entry. You pretty much nailed the low. There's my stop loss. First take profit. You could even target this like your next level is not till up here, really. You know, like this would be the area. That's a 5-to-1. And then as it goes up, you move your stop loss up, right? As this happens, you have to be able to adjust and say, okay, well, if the low is in, even if you're not sure, right? Comes up here, hits this, makes a new higher low, makes a high, another higher low. Stop loss goes here now. Makes another high, makes another high. Where's my stop loss now? Right here. You're just moving it up as it's moving into this range. Why? Because if you break below this low right here, probably going to come all the way back down, right? So we don't want it too close, but at the same time, you want to be watching yourself. And for me, after you saw this and you see the higher lows, now you're just working off the pretense that this is my stop loss, right? That's my stop loss. And if you go to the yearly pivot, and I know this video was supposed to end a while ago, and I'm just on here rambling at you guys, ranting and raving. Look at that. Look where my yearly pivot is for that. Okay. Look where my stop loss goes after we've come up and made this higher low right here. And if I'm shorting here, which I was short on here and here, obviously your local gold pocket was our support. We talked about this in the group not that long ago in the classroom. Support, support, support. Stop loss is still down here. If I'm taking this trade, though, my stop loss can go to this guy right here. I'm going to move it around, shake it for you guys. Shake, shake, shake. Right, so there you go. All right, that's enough rambling and ranting about stop losses and positions and how to find entries. We can talk more about this in the stream. Yeah, you got to give trades room to breathe. And then, you know, it's all about just slowing down, taking the big picture into place and saying, okay, what's really going on here, you know, and understanding that even if I'm kind of late to the move, if you're late to a day trade, it's much less forgiving. Let's put it that way. The risk is just high at that point. So if you're late to a macro move, though, generally there's some flexibility here, right? Because we're working off of really high time frame ideas. Because when you get a move like this, or like this, or like this, I mean, you don't really expect this to continue going higher, do you? And this to continue going lower right off the rip. Like me, I didn't even have to buy down here. You know why? Because I trade inverse perpetual. I was just giga short from like 9,200 and I closed at 5,500. So I technically closed like right here because I think that was the 200 week MA at the time. I closed right here. I didn't even catch all this. And I was underwater for a little while, and you can see it was back testing this. So yeah, that probably was the 200 week right here. Closed at 5,500. Price continues to go down, reclaims the level. I'm immediately stop loss under the low for me at 5,500. And I just rode this thing up, right? Big take profit for me was 13,000 region, which is up here where this last local high was. And then you were looking at the gap fill right here, essentially, that came back and back tested this range before moving on, right? And then we all said it. I believe the video that I had made was like 40 minutes long. Nobody was watching. Nobody was watching my videos back then because they were so long. I was making like 40-minute chart build videos for the public. Some people loved them. Some people just hated on them. But I'd said if we go above 13,880, you have to be expecting new all-time highs. And it would probably come in December. I believe I even had it timed to like the second or third week, which I think this is like Christmas time. It is. That's correct. New all-time high right then. So there you go. Off it goes. And then it's just a matter of holding and not fucking up, right? And so this was an easy target to find, the 1618. We went over this in the group. We've gone over it publicly, how you would have found this high and this high, both based on time and fibs. Very simple stuff. And now we move on to where we are now. And yeah, so for me, below this low is bad news bears, right? We were just talking about trends. Okay. So we were just talking about that on the other Bitcoin price. Low, low, low. Below this low is not good for price, right? Could you do something like this and come down and, do that? Sure. Is the most probable? Probably not. I would expect more of a rotation to back to more traditional supports in this region if this area is lost. And that all starts with 22,810, right? So, all right, guys, I'm going to end it. I know Max has got to walk his dog. Max, anything to add while we're waiting?
We took the high. You've got some trapped traders at the top there. So I'm on the 1 mil volume chart here because you can't see it on the 5 minute. If you go on the 5 minute, it looks like you've had some positions changing hands, but you didn't. You took out like 3 million shorts, and then like 4 million longs came in at the top, and they were quickly put underwater. But if you look at this line here that I've got, you didn't really take the liquidity. So there is still a chance that it's going to come back up more. You did have some shorts pile in here. And looking at that, you'd probably argue some positions changing hands. But again, on the 1 mil volume chart, you can see it was a lot of selling, and then you had some shorts enter. So, take that as you will. But yeah, I'd expect it to come up and take more of the liquidity. But, you've got the SFP already, the trap traders. If it doesn't release them, if it doesn't come, what's that line there? The week open, if it doesn't get back above the weekly open and it rejects again, it's trapping them traders, and chances are it's going to go down further and really squeeze them out of the lows. But yeah, I didn't want to interrupt as you were spitting bars, so I thought I'd let you run with that one.
Okay, all right, guys, I'm gonna hop off because I'm gonna do some trading, hopefully here locally, if we get some decent ones. And then I'll see you in the group if you're in there. If you're not, leadingcrypto.io is down below. All the information you need is there. You can also join the Discord there as well. There's a free section. So we don't use stochastic RSI. We don't use a lot of indicators. It's not to say that you can't trade with those, okay? Before we go, I don't want you guys to think that we're like I showed some guys some tricks on the RSI in the chat the other day, because I used to trade off the RSI alone before order flow became a thing for me in 2020. And then it was CBD, so you can use it. It can be used. I just don't personally use it. It's not how I trade. So, do whatever fits your win rate. If your win rate's really good with it and it helps you find entries, you can certainly apply what we teach in terms of charting and how to find levels and ranges, and then apply whatever moving indicator you'd like, I guess would be the way to put it. So, yep. Otherwise, I got nothing to say, guys. Smash the like. I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning, and have